All right, guys, Wednesday, we've turned the page. We're fully on to Dallas as a team and an organization right now. We're looking forward to the opponent this weekend. Obviously, this is a big game for us, being so that it's, a rivalry game, a divisional game, and obviously there's a lot at stake. When you talk about this team, this is not the same team we played early in the year. I think notably the pace they're playing is different, the way they're playing a balanced attack on offense. They've got away from playing fast-paced tempo. They're not so much a pass-heavy team at this point. Really the offense always goes through Zeke and the run game. That's what they use to set up those explosive receivers on the outside. I think Kellen's done a really good job of mixing it up, using the screen game, the run game, to create some shots down the field. And obviously this offense is going to pose a lot of issues. There's some similarities to our own, but I'd say at the same time it's a totally different offense based on how it's being called, who it's being called with, and some of the plays that evolved throughout the year. Defensively, this unit's playing very well, and the thing is turnovers that's really separated them right now and how they've played lately from probably earlier in the year. And this team's making a lot of plays with the pass rushers off the edge. The backers inside are making a lot of plays. They've got a young defensive interior that's really stepped up. There's a lot of new faces and names we have to get familiar with in a hurry and know how they play. But this team's really made a lot of gains defensively, and we got a lot to handle on our hands. We have to have a good week of practice. And, of course, in the kicking game with Bones, it always comes down to it's an attacking mindset. He's got a lot of multiples. He's going to have some kind of gimmick in every phase. They're going to call it, and the bigger the game, the more gadgets you see, and that ties into McCarthy's own personal history as well. End-of-season games, whether it has playoff implications or something tied in with just want to use something for an edge. He's always practicing, always preparing for the onside kicks, the fake punts, the fake field goals. These are things we're going to have to be alert, aware, communicate, and play with a defensive mindset anytime we don't have the ball, be it on kickoff return, punt return, or field goal block. So that being said, I'll open up to any questions you may have.
We'll start with anyone who regularly covers the Cowboys. Jory?
Yeah, Joe, you mentioned some of the ways you've seen this team change. What stands out most about your first meeting with the Cowboys, and specifically when you think about the emotions of Dak Prescott's injury? How memorable is that?
Well, I'd say just in terms of Dak, look, you don't want to see any player hurt on your team or any other team. And Dak's, Dak's a really good player, man. He's a really good person. Look, I've obviously followed him from having just, alma mater ties with him. And I've been a fan of him for some times in the way he carries himself off the field and the way he plays on the field. When you go against a guy like Dak, you've got to prepare for the run and the pass. But this guy's a very smart player. He's a very tough player. He really brings a lot of dimensions to the game that you have to account for. That being said, Kellen's done a really good job with this offense and adjusted with Andy at quarterback. And I think the thing that stands out about Andy is he's extremely smart. Andy's a very smart quarterback. He puts him in the right place. He knows where to go with the ball. He does a really good job getting the ball out of his hand quickly, which really helps the protection up front and negates the pass rush. He's been throwing the ball very accurate. I think Kellen's putting him in good schemes in terms of, using the weapons they have on the outside, but really staying balanced with the run game between Zeke and Pollard. And they're really finding nice ways to use those guys. And they've got weapons all over the field on offense, and you've got to make sure you account for them. You got not just know, what they're lined up in, but who's where, okay? And we've got to go ahead and play with good run defense, and you've got to stop the shots down the field as well. That's definitely how they make a lot of plays.
You bet. And on the defensive side of the ball, you mentioned the takeaways they've had in the last few games. What trends do you see in terms of what's working for them getting these consistent takeaways?
They're playing fast. They're playing fast in the pass rush, come around the edge. They're affecting the quarterback. You see the other day with Hurts with the pursuit where they caused the fumble in the fourth quarter. They folded on back. They're hustling to the ball. They're attacking the ball. They're really doing a nice job with how they're playing up front. And then on the back end, the DBs do a great job of reading the quarterback's eyes. This is a deal that if you get locked on a receiver and your eyes stay stagnant down the field, they're going to find it and they're going to break on that ball. And they do a good job on the defensive backs as well of attacking that ball, putting their face on it, really biting the ball. They do a good job in their tackling technique. So, look, ball security is definitely a priority for our team this week.
Bruce Beck.
Hey, Joe, I'm not mentioning the P word, but what does it mean to you and your guys to be playing a meaningful game in January?
Well, look, you could go through and kind of give the whole every game's meaningful and this and that, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think in anything that you do that you have a great passion for, you want it to be important to other people as well, okay? You want to invest enough of yourself, and you ask the team to invest enough of themselves. You want it to be important across the board. Now, every game is important to us. You get 16 opportunities a year, okay, that you're guaranteed to go out there on Sunday and perform. And we have to take advantage of every single one of them. But for us in this one right here, Bruce, obviously, division game, rivalry game. We want to make sure that we continue to play and improve as a team. This is, the last regular season opportunity for us to go out there and improve as a team. We didn't set out and say, hey, man, we really want to get better as a team in 14 games. We said in all 16 games. We want to see a raised level of play and coaching across the board.
I'm Kennedy.
Joe, in the last 2 games Daniel started, we've kind of seen a quarterback who's been reluctant to run. The gloves have to come off this week. Do you have to use him, what he's best at?
Look, we're going to do whatever it takes to win the game. That being said, we're always going to consider our players' health as the priority. We're going to work not to put our players in any situation where we put them at a greater risk of injury. And that comes to how we protect them, how we call the plays, and how we execute on the field.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, just based on when Logan's extension happened, I don't think we even asked you about it. Curious, why that was a priority and how involved were you in that process?
Yeah, without going through all the inner workings on the back scene, I think obviously, this is going to be a free agency type of deal. We just had the opportunity to get this done before we went to free agency. Logan's been a good player for us. He's been a leader in this organization. I think the biggest thing is he's been a productive player. Okay, you can talk about all the intangibles off the field. They're all very important. At the end of the day, it's a production business, and he's been a productive player for us. So, the ability to be able to retain him in our program, and not only continue to add depth in our defensive backfield, which has become a strength for us throughout this season, with a lot of young guys coming up and developing. Look, it was a priority to keep Logan here and be able to keep that unit strong.
Kim Johnson.
Hey, Joe, I'm not asking you to repeat any of your comments because I'm aware of all of them. I've heard all of them. But have you felt the need recently to defend Daniel?
To defend him on the field or in the press?
Specifically the other day when sort of you weren't asked a question about your quarterback, but you went on to talk about the many ways he's improving and has improved.
No, I haven't felt a need to defend him at all. I think ultimately in this business, what we do on the field is what's going to really matter. We can all say a lot of things, and I took an opportunity to point out some things that I saw of him on the tape and his progression throughout the season. But in terms of defending Daniel, now look, he's a big boy. We all know what we signed up for here. There's going to be criticism on the outside. That's the way it's supposed to be. We're in New York. It's not supposed to be an easy job to coach or play here. We have to understand the climate we're in. It's a tough city. It's supposed to be a tough city. You need tough skin to play here.
So that was more to sort of educate us on just what you were seeing in your quarterback?
Yes.
Okay. Fair enough. Thank you.
Tom Rock.
Hey, Joe. Where do you think you've made the biggest strides? It seems like a lifetime ago when you played the Cowboys last. Where have you improved the most? Where has this team matured the most, do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you watch that first game tape, and I've obviously watched it a couple times, throughout this weekend leading up to this, these are 2 very different teams on the field. You can turn around and say there's a lot of the same players out there, some similar schemes. You look at the execution from both teams are completely different in a lot of ways. I think, without jumping onto us real quick, just talking about their defense, they're playing faster. They're definitely playing more confident out there. They're definitely more productive and disruptive with what they're doing. In terms of us as a team, I've seen a raised level of play across the board. I see more confidence. All right, starting with our quarterback, Kim, in terms of how he's controlling the line of scrimmage, operating within the system, and really helping guys around him. I see the signal callers on defense with Blake and Logan and some of those guys doing a really good job of working with multiples and controlling it on the field. Early in the season, when you're in, 4 games in, 5 games in a new system without a preseason, these are things that really take some time to develop that chemistry within the game setting. So I've seen that really mature throughout the season. I've seen our defensive backfield be able to handle more multiples, disguise, different variations of man coverage, have a greater understanding for who we're playing and how we have to play. I've seen our skill group, develop some versatility in terms of how we can attack it. I've seen our offensive line improve with great strides. So there's a lot of things I could talk about throughout the season I've seen, but to me it's about when I watched that tape the other day, just looking at ourselves, you can see instantly, and the players can as well, like we're a much improved team on all levels, at all positions, and how we're, operating as one unit. And that's encouraging. Now, that being said, they're a much better team too. So, we've got to go out there and have our best game on Sunday.
We'll take 2 more, Schwartz and Zach. Schwartz.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, Paul.
I got 2 for you. I'll do it quick. Last game was the highest scoring game you guys have played. The last time you played the Cowboys, both teams had a lot of points. They scored the 30, 41, 37 their last 3 games. If this has to become that kind of game, can you guys keep up with that point-wise?
We'll do whatever it takes to win the game, Paul. So, look, we want to play, defense to keep the kind of points off the board, and offensively we're trying to score in every position, and we want to make sure we finish better drives.
And even if you don't go forward after this week, this team has not done a great job in the division the last several years. If you win this game, you go 4-2 in the division. Is that something you had to check on when you came in? We need to clean up our neighborhood here in the division.
There's a lot of marks since I came in here that we circled and said we've got to hit these. A lot of things I haven't advertised, a lot of things internally everyone's aware of. But look, playing the National Football League, it really does all start with your division. It's really the most important thing. You play these guys twice a year. You have to know your division. You have to improve within your division. A lot of people build their teams based on who they play twice a year within the division. Those games don't trump every other game, but they're obviously very important games because they almost count as more than one game because of how you're measured against the other teams in the division.
Thank you. Last one here, Zach.
Hey, Joe. Dante Pettis, it took him a while to make his debut for your guys, and then he played quite a bit at receiver the other day. I'm just curious what you saw from him there, and if you can envision him helping in the return game going forward. He obviously has a rich history in that area.
We're working him in the return game in practice every day. We also have Dion back on kick returns, and Pep, and then when he's healthy, he's out there as well sometimes for us. So we work a number of players in practice. Dante obviously has a history of it through college and somewhat in the league. So we're going to work them all the time. We want to always build our depth at those positions. It's tough to find punt returners. It really is. That's one of those positions you kind of take for granted, and when you don't have one, everybody notices every week. That's just something that's a fact. In terms of him as a receiver, I see him really improving within our scheme and system. Thought he did a nice job in the game the other day. Really showed the ability to get open. Caught the ball for us. Had a couple that didn't come his way. Was still able to get open. And shed some tight coverage. So I've seen improvement with him. Obviously, he's had kind of a short term in our system. He lost a little bit of time to develop with us, being on the COVID list for a period of time. So he's made the most of his opportunities, and now he's on the field working. We'll see where it goes this week in terms of the game plan, but I've seen improvement from him. I'm encouraged going forward with him.
And then before you go, I was wondering if we can get some injury updates on some of the guys like Kyler Fackrell, Golden Tate, Evan Ingram, a few of those guys.
Yeah, so Evan will be out there today. Fackrell will be out there today, moving around. Everyone will do something a little bit with the trainers. Today's kind of that hybrid day of kind of individuals, some competition, a little bit of walkthrough at the end. So some guys get a little bit more in the walkthrough at the end than they will early on in the individuals and the competition. We're going to keep Golden strictly with the trainers today. We'll see where he goes going forward. Again, I know he's going to do everything he can to be out there. We're optimistic. We know he's working hard with the trainers. We'll see where he's at physically. I want to be fair to him and make sure we give him the opportunity to get out there and show us, if he can get out there in the field, stay on the field, and be productive for us. So, look, this guy's done a good job for us. He's been really fun to coach. So, obviously, we want all of our guys out there healthy.